Welcome, travelers, to Adventures in Security. In this video, we explore how organizations can effectively manage the human attack surface. The script/study guide for this video, along with relevant references, is available in the video description. If you like what you see, if you learn anything, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss future content. In today's interconnected environment, organizations grapple with an expanding range of cyber threats that target digital and physical resources. While technical safeguards like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and encryption are vital, the human factor is often the most significant and vulnerable component. Employees, vendors, and other authorized individuals can inadvertently or intentionally create opportunities for malicious actors, making the human attack surface, HAS, a prime avenue of exploitation. This video explores the strategies and practices necessary to manage HAS-related risks throughout the employee lifecycle, from role-based access controls to ongoing training, monitoring, and secure offboarding procedures. By acknowledging that human behavior and organizational culture play a critical role in cybersecurity, organizations can strengthen their resilience, reduce the likelihood of insider threats, and proactively guard against evolving cyber risks. I omit the process of new hire and critical employee background checks. This is not an oversight. It is a common practice for most organizations, and therefore, it does not need a strong focus here. Insider threats pose significant challenges due to their inherent access and trust within organizations. Implementing insider risk programs involves continuous monitoring, behavioral analytics, and clear policies to detect and deter malicious or negligent activities by employees and contractors. NIST emphasizes the importance of such programs in its guidelines for securing information systems. Approaches include managing cognitive load and decision fatigue, zero trust architecture, AI-augmented threat detection, human factor metrics, password hygiene score, password access control, third-party risk management, mandatory vacations and job rotation, training and awareness, encryption processes, security culture maturity models, and approved application installation management. Cognitive load and decision fatigue can significantly impact user security behavior, particularly in high-stakes environments. When employees are overwhelmed or mentally fatigued, they are more likely to bypass security protocols or make poor security decisions. Measurement approaches include psychometric assessments, workload surveys, for example NASA TLX, and correlational studies with security incident frequency. Research has shown that repeated exposure to security prompts without adequate breaks can lead to security fatigue and increased error rates. Security fatigue often arises from excessive alerts, frequent password changes, overly complex policies, and the feeling that following security protocols interferes with productivity. Left unmanaged, it can lead to risky behaviors like ignoring updates, reusing passwords, or falling for phishing attempts. Organizations must adopt a user-centric approach that simplifies security tasks without compromising protection to reduce fatigue. One critical step is reducing unnecessary user friction. This can be achieved by implementing passwordless authentication methods such as biometrics or single sign-on, SSO, which remove the burden of remembering and rotating complex passwords. Additionally, combining these with multi-factor authentication, MFA, in a context-aware manner, where the system only prompts when risk is detected, can make security feel less intrusive while maintaining effectiveness. Another strategy is intelligent automation, such as leveraging adaptive learning tools to tailor training modules to individual knowledge levels, which can prevent overload while reinforcing essential concepts. Security awareness programs should shift from annual generic training to bite-sized, role-specific, and just-in-time content delivery. Gamification and simulated phishing campaigns should be integrated to maintain engagement and low fear-based messaging. Organizations must foster a culture of shared responsibility rather than blame to maintain motivation and resilience. Users may become disengaged when they are punished or publicly called out for security mistakes. Instead, positive reinforcement, anonymous reporting mechanisms, and leadership modeling secure behavior are more effective. Internal champions and peer-to-peer advocacy programs can also help embed cybersecurity in daily workflows. Finally, minimizing alert fatigue, especially for Security Operations Center, SOC, teams, and privileged users, is crucial. Deploying SIEMs and endpoint detection systems that use machine learning to reduce false positives ensures attention is focused on true threats. Prioritizing alerts based on impact and risk can preserve mental bandwidth and reduce burnout. Zero Trust architecture operates on the principle of never trust, always verify, requiring strict identity verification for every person and device attempting to access resources. This approach minimizes the risk of internal and external threats by enforcing least privilege access controls and continuous authentication mechanisms. Artificial intelligence, AI, enhances threat detection by analyzing vast datasets to identify anomalous behaviors indicative of security breaches. AI-driven systems can adapt to evolving threats, providing real-time alerts and automated responses. Research indicates that AI integration significantly improves the speed and accuracy of threat detection. This is critical for insider human threats, which are typically very difficult to detect. Quantifying human-related risks involves assessing behaviors, compliance rates, and susceptibility to social engineering. Metrics such as phishing simulation click rates and password hygiene scores provide insights into the effectiveness of security awareness programs and highlight areas needing improvement. While many organizations are shifting to passwordless authentication, as I explained later in this video, passwords remain widely used. Therefore, understanding password hygiene scores is a crucial aspect of managing the HAS. A password hygiene score is a quantitative or qualitative metric. Organizations use to assess the overall strength, safety, and compliance of user-generated passwords within a system, evaluating password complexity, length, uniqueness, reuse across platforms, exposure in known data breaches, and adherence to organizational and regulatory guidelines, serving as a vital indicator of how well users follow secure password practices and helping security teams identify vulnerabilities arising from weak or risky password behaviors. Managing password hygiene scores begins with establishing precise, updated policy baselines that align with trusted guidance, such as the NIST Special Publication 863B. This publication discourages outdated practices like periodic password expiration and overly complex composition rules. Instead, it recommends enforcing minimum password lengths, screening against commonly used or breached passwords, and allowing password managers and passphrases to enhance memorability and strength. Modern enterprise identity and access management systems often calculate password hygiene scores by integrating inputs from breached password databases and using real-time analysis tools. These systems flag reused or compromised passwords and provide administrators with dashboards that assess password health across the organization. For example, platforms such as Microsoft Defender for Identity and Okta offer visibility into organizational password hygiene by analyzing Active Directory environments and identifying accounts with poor password practices. To manage and enhance hygiene scores, organizations must adopt proactive strategies, such as implementing SSO, promoting the use of password managers, and transitioning to passwordless authentication mechanisms like biometrics and the FIDO2 protocol. These methods improve security and reduce user fatigue associated with traditional password requirements. Additionally, integrating multi-factor authentication as a compensating control strengthens the overall risk posture even when password strength is suboptimal. Ongoing user education also plays a crucial role. Security awareness programs should train users to understand the consequences of poor password hygiene, recognize phishing tactics that steal credentials, and store login information responsibly. When paired with tools that provide personal password risk reports or scorecards, this approach reinforces accountability and supports continuous improvement in credential security practices. As I said earlier in this video, passwordless access can help reduce security fatigue, loss of productivity, and help desk costs due to password resets. Passwordless human access controls refer to authentication mechanisms that eliminate traditional passwords in favor of more secure and user-friendly methods. methods that verify identity through alternative means such as biometrics, security tokens, or device-based credentials, reducing reliance on passwords which are vulnerable to reuse, phishing, and brute force attacks. Passwordless human access controls enhance both security and usability. Organizations should consider transitioning to modern identity verification models that utilize cryptographic authentication protocols to implement passwordless access controls effectively. For instance, systems based on FIDO2 rely on a public-private key pair generated on a user device, eliminating opportunities for attackers to steal or guess static credentials, and significantly reducing the risk of credential compromise. Implementing passwordless controls starts with device registration, where a trusted device is enrolled to serve as the authentication factor. During subsequent access attempts, the identity provider verifies the user through biometric input or a hardware security key. This method meets multi-factor authentication requirements because it combines something the user has, the device or security key, with something the user is, biometric. Organizations can further enhance this by integrating device posture checks to ensure the device complies with security policies before granting access. The transition to passwordless authentication requires back-end integration with identity providers such as Azure Active Directory, Okta, or Ping Identity, all of which support passwordless flows using FIDO2, Windows Hello for Business, or third-party authenticators. This integration also enables centralized policy enforcement and auditing, facilitating enterprise-grade access management. In real-world applications, passwordless access controls are increasingly employed to secure employee logins to cloud platforms, internal systems, and administrative portals. In high-security environments, this approach is complemented by conditional access policies that grant or deny access based on contextual factors such as geolocation, device type, and request timing. When implemented correctly, passwordless authentication enhances user experience by reducing login friction, lowers help desk costs related to password resets, and strengthens systems against credential-based attacks. Passwordless human access control represents an evolution in cybersecurity, aligning with the principles of zero trust and adaptive authentication, providing both security and convenience, and offering an alternative to legacy password-based systems. Third-party vendors can introduce vulnerabilities into an organization's security posture. Effective risk management includes thorough vetting processes, contractual security requirements, and continuous monitoring of third-party compliance with security standards. Implementing job rotation and mandatory vacation policies can deter fraudulent activities by ensuring that no single individual has unchecked control over critical processes. These practices facilitate the detection of irregularities and promote transparency within organizational operations. Ongoing education about cybersecurity best practices enables employees to identify and address potential threats. Engaging training modules, phishing simulations, and consistent updates on new threats effectively cultivate a security-conscious culture. Encryption safeguards data integrity and confidentiality, both in transit and at rest. Organizations should implement robust encryption protocols and manage cryptographic keys securely to protect sensitive information from unauthorized access as part of an overall strong employee access control program, a program that should reduce the likelihood that a threat actor can use a stolen or guessed password to access critical systems and sensitive data. Security culture maturity refers to the progressive development of an organization's ability to embed secure behaviors, values, and attitudes into its daily operations and strategic decision-making processes. This maturity reflects how well an organization integrates cybersecurity into its broader culture, evolving through measurable stages. Mature security cultures move beyond compliance-based approaches toward proactive, adaptive, and leadership-driven ones, where security is viewed as a shared responsibility across all business units. Organizations rely on security culture maturity models to assess and guide this development, providing structured frameworks for evaluating current capabilities, identifying gaps, and planning improvements. A widely referenced framework is the Security Culture Maturity Model, SCMM, which describes progressive stages such as unaware, compliant, engaged, and embedded. At the unaware stage, security is typically reactive and limited to policy documentation. The compliant stage introduces structured training and foundational awareness. As organizations progress to the engaged stage, they leverage behavioral metrics and empower staff to report threats. The highest level, embedded, signifies an environment where leadership consistently reinforces, evaluates, and promotes security behaviors. The application of these models starts with data collection through surveys, phishing simulations, behavioral metrics, and policy adherence tracking. Metrics typically include the frequency of incident reporting, success rates on simulated attacks, participation in training, and perception surveys that gauge employee attitudes toward cybersecurity. These data points are then mapped to the maturity levels within the selected model, providing a comprehensive view of both strengths and weaknesses across departments or user groups. A key component of advancing maturity is leadership engagement. Senior executives must champion cybersecurity as a core organizational value by aligning security goals with business objectives. Additionally, security messaging should be integrated into internal communications, onboarding, and performance evaluations to reinforce expected behaviors. Periodic reassessments enable organizations to measure improvements and recalibrate their programs in response to emerging threats or organizational changes. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework, CSF 2.0, provides additional guidance, particularly within the govern function, emphasizing cultural alignment, stakeholder communication, and continuous improvement in security behaviors. By aligning maturity models with the NIST CSF and industry-specific requirements, organizations ensure that their security culture initiatives contribute to broader risk management and compliance goals. Ultimately, security culture maturity is not a static achievement, but a dynamic capability that must evolve alongside technology, workforce changes, and the threat landscape. Organizations that invest in measuring and strengthening this cultural dimension are better equipped to defend against human-centric risks and to build long-term resilience. Controlling what users can install on their devices is a foundational aspect of endpoint security. One of the most effective strategies involves implementing an approved application list, restricting device execution permissions to a predefined set of authorized software that has been vetted by the organization's security and IT teams. By allowing only approved applications to run, organizations significantly reduce their attack surface, limit the risk of malware installation, and prevent unauthorized tools from entering the environment. Application control policies based on pre-approved software lists ensure that only trusted applications necessary for job functions are accessible to end users. These policies are typically enforced using endpoint protection platforms or operating system-level controls such as Microsoft AppLocker or Windows Defender Application Control. Before adding software to the approved list, applications are assessed for functionality, security, vendor reputation, licensing compliance, and potential vulnerabilities. Regular reviews of the list ensure it remains current, responsive to changes in business needs, and aligned with emerging threat intelligence. Removing local administrative privileges from all standard user accounts is equally critical to enforcing these controls. Granting administrative access to daily use accounts allows users to bypass application controls, disable security tools, or make unauthorized system-level changes. This creates a pathway for attackers to exploit misconfigurations or escalate privileges. Removing local admin rights and enforcing privilege separation ensures that users cannot install unapproved applications or tamper with device security settings. Organizations can apply the principle of least privilege by granting elevated access only to designated IT personnel or through just-in-time access solutions that provide temporary, auditable privileges for specific tasks. Combining an approved application list and restricted user privileges establishes a layered defense that enhances compliance with regulatory requirements, such as the HIPAA, the PCI DSS, and NIST SP 800-171. It also reinforces zero-trust architecture principles by limiting implicit trust in user devices and ensuring that application execution is consistently governed and monitored. Managing the HAS requires a comprehensive approach that accounts for the full employee lifecycle, from hiring and onboarding to day-to-day role management and final offboarding. Organizations can significantly reduce accidental and intentional insider threats by systematically vetting candidates, delivering ongoing cybersecurity training, and consistently reviewing and refining access controls. Administrative, physical, and logical measures, such as role-based access control, continuous monitoring, mandatory vacations, and clear acceptable use policies, work in tandem to minimize human vulnerabilities. Moreover, embedding security considerations into workplace culture ensures that awareness and best practices become second nature to employees. As cyber threats continue to evolve, regular assessment and refinement of HAS safeguards are essential. In this way, organizations protect their critical data and systems and foster a proactive and resilient security posture that can adapt to emerging challenges. That's it for this video. If you have questions or comments, post those in the video discussion. And until next time, be careful what you click.